Hello, hello, hello. Grab a bottle. I have a nice Pinot Grigio and a curly straw. No need to waste a glass. Come and join me. I have always been a DC girl. Growing up, it was the animated universe, the Teen Titans, imprinting my daddy issues on Batman, wanting to male wife Superman, watching Wonder Woman break glass ceilings and bones. And one day, I'll fully go into my love for the Flash. I was really out there believing in heroes. There's so much to say, and I will, but for now, I just want to dedicate this time to Matt Reeves, the Batman. This review would be much better if you've watched it. There's going to be moments I reference, and it would be nice if I wasn't spoiling anyone. It's been a year and a half since it came out, so get it together, lads. Watch it first. Batman was created over 80 years ago by Bob Kane and Bill Finger. There was one thing absolutely vital: noir. The genre had hit its peak, and at this point, the cultural zeitgeist was thirsting for Byronic anti-heroes in gloomy cities, alongside the campy masked fun vigilantes such as Zorro, wholly genre-mixing Batman. But, and we're ignoring the CW for now, this has always been a staple in Batman's characterization, whether it's a cheesy, humour-filled film or a biopic across 3 movies. The paunchy rock and roll, merged with a hopeful and empathetic message about personal responsibility and sacrifice for the greater good of a community, has allowed filmmakers to take all aspects of this character and create stories along the lines of what they want to see. And boy, did Matt Reeves do just that. It just happened to align with what I wanted to see. The Batman, Year 2. Not Year 1, we've been there, done that. Not a Batman biopic trilogy attempt. Can't compete with Nolan on that. No. We start with Robert Pattinson's film noir-esque narration, dropped into a grimy, rainy Gotham on Halloween. The Yelp reviews are in, and it's not highly recommended. And what is Batman without Gotham? The Gotham we're in is used as a narrative tool to represent Batman, to represent where Bruce is in his story. It's dark, it's bleak, he's young and exhausted, and so are the disenfranchised youth of this New Jersey town. We're seeing Gotham filled to the brim with tension, and everything feeds this: the lighting, the music, the way the camera pans and skews just off center, off focus. We're looking for Batman in every shadow corner, and so are the criminals we're following us. And he tells us, I am the shadows.
But I am the shadows.
As a Scorpio, it's honestly how I love to introduce myself also, but why do I think this is an important line? Well, not only does it harken to a Mr. I Am Vengeance that we know and love, but it directly places us in Battenson's headspace. He's not safe, he's not hope. He's that alleyway you really don't want to go down. He's the screams you want to think are foxes. He's dark, and he's not here for you. I mean, if you were a member of Gotham society. And this is why this is such a good depiction of Batman. This isn't Bat-Dad, the brooding weirdo sat amongst colourful metahumans in spandex. This isn't Batman with his never-ending supply of text, not the bright, confident, womanizing Bruce Wayne. No, we see him as an exhausted goth boy with too much on his plate and a fundamental misunderstanding of social justice. But over the 3 hours of film, he's forced to face these 3 fundamental truths. 1. His privilege has allowed him into a position to become a symbol. 2. What kind of symbol that may be is dependent on his actions. And 3. He is responsible for the violence he incites, depending on what kind of symbol he becomes. And doesn't that just feel like Batman? Batman who is highly empathetic, who feels the weight of responsibility, the Batman who starts the Justice League and adopts orphans and draws the line between Bruce Wayne and Batman, but contributes to society as both. Battenson here is toned down, the voice we know is subdued, his tousled hair and yesterday's makeup the morning after a patrol kind of reminds me of a Sunday morning after me and the girls go out for a boozy brunch and come back 36 hours later, somehow. But it's night and day to Affleck's womanizing 30-something works in finance clapping bro, and for you Americans, that basically means it's night and day from his aged-up frat bro who is offended he has to pay taxes now. He looks hungry. He sounds hungry. Our Pats has gone on record to say that he only wants to play weirdos, and it shows, because this Batman is a weirdo. But our Batman in the DCAU and in the comics is always a weirdo. Reeves was inspired by the late great Kurt Cobain. What if Batman was a rich, tortured artist, someone who struggles, someone who has pain, but whose ultimate lesson is about being kind, about dedication, and staying humble? Hey, I literally just realised at the time of recording, because I guess I only get big-brained when there's a bottle in my hand, but Kurt Cobain loved rats. And guess what the focus of this film is? Wow. Anyway. Battenson. He's awkward, but he's got a sense of humour.
You got a lot of cats.
He looks physically pained when he has to speak to the general public, and honestly, someone just pour this boy a glass. But you can see his youth. The only person he seems to be himself with is Alfred, and you can tell that he feels safe with Alfred because he's such a goddamn meanie to him. He even pulls the "You're not my father" line.
You're not my father.
Deceptive, but not a know-it-all. He misses a piece of the puzzle with a language pun, but he's on the right track, just 2 inches to the left. Which is how his whole approach to justice is when we meet him, and as we go through the Riddler's plot, you can sense Battenson's unease. Who is this person trying to get his attention, and why do they want it? What will they do when they have it? What is he missing? What he's missing is that his justice is violence. Battenson is angry, and he's unknowingly made himself relatable to the even angrier. And I love that. It feels so intrinsically Batman because it's something that, like, both sides of the spectrum, whether you love him or hate him, can agree on. Trauma. First, Thomas and Martha have to die. The film, thankfully, does not go through this again. Reeves trusts his audience, and anyway, it doesn't matter. We see through the course of the movie that Battenson is an orphan. Bruce Wayne is an orphan. But as Riddler says, not really. His parents are dead, but he's cared for, he's fed and watered and warm, and he got to grow up in a house and a home and a company and a dream. He's different to the Gotham orphans who froze to death, forgotten by Gotham when Thomas Wayne died. Trauma is, in every iteration, the central key element in what makes Bruce Wayne Batman. Torn apart through witnessing the murder of his parents, he becomes a masked crime-fighting vigilante in bat-shaped Kevlar. I mean, hey, whatever helps you cope, man. But seriously, a lot of reviewers have called Reeves' Batman an emo, and then just left it at that. Okay, I mean, if I was pressed for time and not half-cut, starting my second bottle of Pinot, speaking to no one in particular, I'd call him that too and move on. But I am half-cut and starting my second bottle of Pinot, so the beauty of this iteration of Batman is that he's allowed time to wallow. He is still grieving the youth lost to trauma. He's angry at himself for being a child not able to help. He's angry at his parents, at Alfred, for not telling him every little detail of their lives that he uncovers as an adult. He's angry at Gotham, and he's frightened of Gotham. He revisits this trauma in Gotham, and throughout the entire film, the Waynes loom heavy. They are integral to the plot. Their deaths put more emotion than could ever be fully realized by just little Bruce. The first crime scene. There's a young child who finds his father's mutilated corpse. We see Batman's eyes hone in on him, and they don't leave. It makes him slow, unresponsive to Gordon. His video camera contact lens footage that is reviewed later on is playing and replaying the image of a child who has had their whole world ripped to shreds. Bruce Wayne relates to this child. Batman, he wants vengeance for this child. And it's such a poignant, hollow feeling that gnaws on your heart. You know that Bruce understands, but he is under layers of Kevlar and he's following Gordon around the crime scene. Gordon, incidentally, being the cop that was on the scene when Bruce's parents were murdered. This Batman realizes by the end that peddling violence is not the symbol he wants to be, and that makes him no different to the Riddler, who is riddled, by trauma also. Bruce wants to stop these orphan, traumatized mayor's sons from becoming the norm. He wants them to be okay. He wants to be okay, he doesn't want the mayor's son to be scared of him, and he doesn't want the mayor's son to become him. He reaches out and there's a flash of light. He's not healed by any means, but trauma does not mean that you can't grow. There's no Batman without Agent A, and there's no Bruce without his father / butler / role model / straight man. Alfred, played by Andy Serkis, brings a gruffness, less pomp than the other Alfreds of old. He's an army veteran and he looks it. Honestly, I love this film, but I think Alfred was perhaps the weakest part of it, but it was still a good part. You can see an Alfred who is keen to help Bruce after eyeing him concerned after the first patrol that we witness, narrowing his eyes at the zoomed in replay of the night before, the way Batman loses focus, and Bruce then focuses on the traumatized child. His keenness is also something that is new to this Alfred. He excitedly takes out his notebook and starts to delve into the mystery also. This is an Alfred who wishes Bruce can be Bruce, but supports his surrogate son in this, I guess, like he supports his son in his hobbies. The relationship between Bruce and Alfred in this film is definitely something I wish was explored more, but Reeves drip feeds us a dynamic of wayward child and caregiver, the angry, "you're not my father," Bruce making light that Alfred isn't a Wayne, but realizing with horrifying brutality that he loves Alfred like a father. That losing him is a fear. He feels such fear when Alfred is in danger that he from one scene to the next goes from Batman to Bruce. He literally loses his armor as he rushes towards him, desperately trying to warn him. But the words "I love you" never come out when he visits Alfred in hospital. Love is the fear of losing things, and this Bruce loves deeply even if he can't show it. Alfred throughout encourages Bruce to be more than a machine peddling in petty crime. He asks him to look after the business, to understand that actually the world isn't black and white, that people commit crimes for various reasons, and one of those is love. The tale of Alfred and Bruce is a love story between a father and son, and this Alfred is soft, encouraging, but gruff. Our Batman is the same. Where past iterations of Batman and Alfred use this dynamic for comedy, Reeves uses this for conversation. He's the only one in the whole movie that Battenson can have an actual conversation with, making Alfred his safe space and giving us the time, though I wish there was more, to find out who Bruce is under the eyeliner. The Batmobile in Reeves' The Batman is as much a reflection of Batman in his place in this journey as it is a figural part of Batman, the superhero. It's a display of wealth and resources, but realistic, a souped-up car reinforced to make it tank-like. It's personal, it's handmade. It's designed, and it makes everyone who saw it go, "What?" The Batmobile in the wealth of Batman canon, whether it be comics, games, TV shows, or films, always has to make an appearance. For Batman 2022, Reeves pitched the Batmobile as something completely handmade and personally designed by Bruce. They wanted the car to not look elegant, but used, and a show of self-reliance and practicality, rather than using Wayne tech and Wayne money. Essentially, they wanted a Batmobile for this Batman, in his early years. Like titling the Batman the Gotham project early on in the film, this Batmobile works as the prototype for the Batmobile we've seen in every other adaptation. Reeves is smart this way. He's using his version of Batman, but he's not discounting the 80 years of history that came before him. The V8 engine was completely bespoke to this iteration of the Batmobile, and the back of it is exposed. The majority of car stunts were real, and each car, they built 3, was built to survive them. The amount of work in simply designing and then engineering the Batmobile is staggering in terms of manpower and hours, let alone the justifications for each and every design choice and element, including that of the engineering, really made me warm to this movie even more. If you're able, I really recommend watching the Batmobile featurette from the Blu-ray DVD. This Batmobile is an extension of Battenson. It is intimidating. The roar as the engine comes to life, the way it blows my mind how terrifying it is, and yet serves the purpose of being an incarnation of fear from all design standpoints. This Batman is scary. It's so incredible how simplistic it looks, but at the same time, it gives off this pure, raw, and savage vibe. Fitting. considering how it's a machine designed to both give and take out a pounding by a seriously brutal Batman, which works because Reeves wanted a monster, and that's exactly what he got, with its flaming eyes and strong growl before taking off after its prey in one of the best movie car chases of all time. The chase is relentless, and so is Batman. The Batmobile is simple and sleek looking. When it's turned on, it's an angry beast, and so is this Batman. God. I could do a whole video just about the wingsuit. Reeves' Batman is grounded in reality, and he really wanted to tell a story of a Batman early on, who isn't polished and certainly isn't perfect. Based on GoPro footage, Reeves wanted the audience to take this jump with Batman. His early storyboard meeting has him saying, "In this movie, you will believe a man did fly." And he does. It's clearly something that tells us about Bruce. He's forward thinking. He knows that he's up on Reeves and will one day have to jump off. But as I said earlier, he's not a know-it-all. It has a parachute, but he doesn't use it in time, and he didn't take into account the physics. The genius of this, though, is its practicality once again. It's not like Batman of old, asking us to believe somehow that a flowing cape turns into a glider. They show us seamlessly Bruce activating a wingsuit that expands around him. They show him zipping up. He's a man, a smart man, a man with resources and an amazing engineer, but he's still beholden to the laws of physics and also biology. It's a tool to show his fear, which I will get into later, and his humanity. Despite seeing him destroy a tower full of cops, he groans and is injured after he biffs the landing. Another moment of humour, but wow, what a storytelling. Bat tech exists in Reeves' universe, but these don't take away from Battenson's journey, they add to it. The most important bit of tech are his video camera contact lenses, which I find so appropriate. It's his oversight, it's his acknowledgement that he's a human, a chance to go back over the night and see what he missed, a chance to hold himself accountable, a record of his activities. The fact that he's an early iteration and he relied heavily on his armour and his lenses says something. They're also a great tool used in the narrative to show us, not tell us, Bruce's feelings, bringing it back to trauma and his depth of emotion. It is key in showing us what he focuses on. It shows Alfred what Bruce is focusing on. The little boy who found his father's murdered corpse, imprinted into Bruce's mind, is now imprinted onto ours through clever shots of zoomed-in video, and so on. I'm really impressed with the script's cohabitation with tech. These aren't random ex machinas, no MacGyvers. Every item has been carefully crafted and attached to the narrative. What is Batman without Commissioner Gordon? Played by Jeffrey Wright and played wonderfully. He falls so well into the archetype of hapless cop. Honestly, he's a bit dumb in this movie, which I don't enjoy as I feel it's just to make Batman look smarter. And for me, that undermines the partnership a little. He truly is an idiot in some scenes, which makes it difficult to suspend the disbelief that in the future he becomes police commissioner. Why on earth would you just stick a random pen drive into your security? I'm assuming your security protected laptop that has all of these contacts. Like, who does that? This isn't a buddy cop movie. It's very much Gordon out of his depth. Then I guess it makes sense that he's relying on this freak in Kevlar. He's a truly isolated figure, made small by his colleagues. In the end, you can tell that he's a good guy in a bad situation, and I think if we were to get a director's cut, maybe we would get more on Gordon, but I'm glad he was there, and I'm glad that they're tentative. There's this tension, with Jeffrey's acting skills really coming through. He's unsure and he's nervous around Batman, because he knows that this guy is his best chance, but he doesn't even know who this guy is. He spends a lot of time in this film just escorting Batman from A to B, granting him access to these crime scenes that he would never have gotten otherwise. But Jeffrey plays this so well. This is definitely good acting plus good directing. He's not just escorting him, he is watching him. He's always looking at him from the corner of his eye. He's always sort of turning to glance at him. And more than that, he's there for Batman's greatest moments. He witnesses Batman and Selina argue. He sees Batman try to dissuade her from murder. He spends a lot of time in this film looking to Batman for answers, and I think this builds up to the Batman that we know now. The world's greatest detective, as he's billed, the skills they pick up from each other, the fact that Batman is unencumbered by chains of evidence, paperwork, and office politics. There's nice moments where Gordon voices distrust in the mask and wishes he knew who Batman really was, as well as when he finds out that everyone around him is corrupt and he asks Batman why he doesn't think he's the same. This reveals Batman's empathy, something direct to a colleague, if you will, rather than via thematic or cinematic tools. We also have a nice moment where there's a bit of levity. He jokes about keeping his gun. No guns is a Batman rule, and side by side you see how it looks from Gordon's perspective. Not only does Battenson have several inches on Gordon, but he's head to toe in dark armour, and Jeffrey Wright looks kind of like my boss leaving the office at 10 to 9 on a Wednesday, heading straight to the pub and expecting to pick up a kebab on the way home for dinner before doing it all again tomorrow. Batman is just some dude. And most importantly, what makes Batman a Batman is that in reality, he is just some dude. The thing that makes Batman timeless and a favourite is that he really is just a guy. It's easy to believe that someone with the same resources and mental fortitude could do what he does. This is shown in the world's favourite Batman movies. He can get injured, he groans in pain. The Nolan trilogy does this too, and it goes beyond what is believable. The guy gets his back broken, and whilst there's this whole saga of him recovering, it's like it never happened by the crescendo of the last film. In Reeves' version, Bruce tells Alfred that he's not afraid to die, and that might be true. If you're so frightened, you probably won't become a vigilante in the most crime-ridden city in the country. But I want to break this down a little. He says this in the same breath as him saying fear of death of a loved one is his weakness. Does he, on some unconscious level, refuse to fear his own demise because that would mean, somewhere, he'd have to confront his self-hatred? But beyond that, if we take it at face value, and I think we can in this instance, when we see him hesitating during a chase sequence at the police station before jumping off the roof, it humanizes him greatly. Anyone would hesitate, even the most adrenaline-fueled psycho, because it's just natural human instinct for our bodies to try and prevent us doing something stupid, like jumping off a building. Superman wouldn't flinch, but Superman is an alien who can fly. Wonder Woman wouldn't flinch, but she's invulnerable. It also does so much in showing the audience that this is still early in Batman's career. He's untested for every eventuality. He's smart and prepared. He's got bat wings just for this scenario, hearkening to the ongoing joke that Batman has something in his belt for every occasion. Shark repellent, anyone? But he's never used them in action and he's frightened. And then Reeves goes one step further to humanize Batman. He falls, he falters. It's clear this isn't his roadhouse. It is a rare moment of levity in this film, allowing the audience to take the breath that we've been holding for the last hour and a half. It's a really smart and impactful couple of seconds. It's allowing us to acknowledge that despite his attempts to make it not so, Bruce and Batman are the same person, masked or maskless. He's a human being, a scared little boy in adult skin, out of his depth but too far in to falter, while also reinforcing the Batman that we know, the Batman in our minds. It takes work, practice, and mistakes to get there. It makes it believable to me that when we hear Kevin Conroy's voice, R.I.P. King, to think that the Batman in the Justice League, the one who is infallible, has had to go through it to get here. At 24, he's new and fresh, and you start to think that, yeah, a 50-year-old Batman is more realistic. This moment in the film is pivotal to the underlying theme of Bruce realizing that he has to do more with the Batman mantle than just inflict vengeance, and this audience is allowed to see this moment, for want of a better term, weakness or inexperience. I think something that really sang from this movie in the 10 billion times that I rewatched it is the love that Reeves has for Batman. Nothing he says here is original, but that isn't the point. The point is that he's taking all of the elements, 80 years or so that we've had to build these elements and put them forward with his own aesthetic, experimenting with tone and topic, and making it in line with the 2020s. We've had a fucking hard time of it, with violence and fear at an all-time high, incels on social media scaring us, governments across the globe being outed on social media as literal scumbags, all racketeering and criminals themselves. Does it sound familiar? Our relationships with each other, with our politics, with money, with those sworn to serve and protect, with leaders, is beautifully reflected in this film. Who are we? Are we like Selena, hurt and hurting still, focused anger towards the one person who is the root cause of our pain? Are we Riddler, whose beliefs aren't wrong per se, but begat from violence and requires more violence to be satisfied? Are you Gordon, stuck in a broken system, helpless and looking for a symbol? Or are you a symbol? And what kind of symbol will you be? Are you a human being as well? Can you reconcile that? And can you work with that? These are the questions that Batman has always posed, whether it's in the animated version awkwardly batting off Wonder Woman's advances, or if he's being brave and bold, if his armor has nipples, or if he's snapping necks. Are you human? Can you work with that? And I think that's what makes Batman a Batman, and I think that this is what makes Matt Reeves' Batman a really good Batman, and potentially is one of my favorite iterations of Batman so far, and we've had 80 years of it. Thank you so much if you've made it to this point for watching my first ever video. I'm so pleased to have you drinking with me. Please leave a comment, good or bad, it's all for the algorithm. Like, dislike, block, I'll take anything to be honest. Subscribe for more drunken ramblings.